I'll never forget this night. This was the scariest moment of my career, and the worst part is, it didn't start on the Fireground. It started right here, inside our own station. It was a slow Tuesday night in late November. The kind of cold, damp night where the city feels half asleep, and the only sounds inside the firehouse are the buzz of the vending machine and the old coffee maker gurgling away in the corner. We were all in different corners of the station. Some guys in the day room watching TV, a couple in the bunk room pretending to sleep, one or two cleaning gear just to stay busy. And then, for the first time in my career, the one thing that always made us feel safe went dead silent. For anyone who doesn't live in a firehouse, there's one sound that never truly stops.
We're rerouting
the low hum of
Sector
radios,
3.
the soft
ETA 5
crackle of
minutes.
dispatch, the occasional test tone. It's like background music to our lives. Always there, always reminding us that help is just one tone away. That night, that sound was like a lullaby in the background while we messed around in the kitchen. We had a pot of overcooked pasta on the stove, a hockey game on the TV, and the usual trash talk floating around the room. Nothing special, just another night shift. I was at the table, writing in the station logbook, when I noticed it. Silence. Not quiet. Silence. You know when a refrigerator suddenly stops humming and you realize how loud it actually was? It felt like that, but 1,000 times worse. I looked up. No one seemed to notice at first. The game was still playing, forks were still scraping plates. Someone was laughing at a dumb joke. But the hairs on my arms stood straight up. I glanced over at the base radio on the wall. The tiny green light that always blinked with the signal was dark. At first, it didn't compute. I stared at it, waiting for the light to blink back on. It didn't. I checked my portable radio, clipped to my belt. No static. No voz. No background noise. Dead. Hey, I said, trying to sound casual. Anyone else's radio quiet? One of the guys, Torres, shrugged without looking away from the TV. Yeah, man, it's been slow all night. Relax. But something in my gut twisted. Slow is one thing. Silent is another. I unhooked my radio and turned the volume knob all the way down, then back up, the way we all do when something glitches. Nothing. I changed channels. Nothing. I stepped over to the base radio and tapped the speaker. Still nothing. Now, I had everyone's attention. Yo, what's up? Called Price from the recliner. You breaking the radio again? I ignored him and went into the watch office, where the main dispatch screen usually showed active incidents, units out, and those little color boxes that always shift around like Tetris pieces. The screen was frozen. The last incident time stamp? 27 minutes ago. That wasn't right. We were in a busy part of the city. We didn't go 20 minutes without some kind of call, medical, alarm, car wreck, something. I grabbed the landline phone and dialed the dispatch center directly. 1 ring. 2 rings. 3. Nothing. No pick-up. No automated message. Just dead air. The same impossible silence. Behind me, Captain Harris walked in, rubbing his eyes like he'd just woken up from a nap. What's going on? He asked. Cap, I said, holding out the phone so he could hear the empty line. Dispatch isn't answering. Radios are dead. The screen's frozen. He frowned and stepped closer. Try again. I did. Nothing. He checked his own portable radio. Dead. He walked into the apparatus bay, all of us trailing behind him now, like ducklings. The engines and the truck sat there, quiet, bathed in that dim fluorescent light. Usually, even from inside, you can feel the heartbeat of the city through the radios and the rigs. They sit there murmuring softly, always alive, always listening. They were silent too. No chatter, no tones, just the sound of our own footsteps on the concrete. Check the panel, the captain said. We checked everything. Power was fine. Lights on. Computers running. The TV still blaring commentary about the game. Just no connection. No link to dispatch. No link to the outside world. At some point, the laughter stopped completely. We all just looked at each other. The one thing we relied on more than anything, the ability to be called, to respond, to be told where to go, was gone. And that's when the fear crept in, not as a shout, but as a whisper. If the radios are down here, are they down everywhere? Before we go further into what happens next, I want to hear from you. If all your emergency communication went down, number 911, no cell service, no dispatch. What's the first thing you'd do? Comment below. Stay put if you'd shelter in place, or geo help if you try to find someone in need. Quick favor. If this story is keeping you on the edge of your seat, hit the like button and subscribe to this channel. Stories like this reach more people who appreciate real-life emergency narratives when you engage, and it genuinely helps creators like me keep making content first responders and their communities deserve to hear. Sound on? Make sure notifications are turned on so you don't miss when the next part of this story drops. Is no one getting help? Is the city burning and we don't even know? Are people calling 911 and hearing nothing? The captain tried to stay calm, but his jaw tightened. All right, he said. This is probably just a comms failure. Maybe a line's down. We'll call it in on the backup. Use your cell phones, people. We all reach for our phones like they were lifelines. Torres tried calling his friend at another station. Straight to voicemail. Price dialed the captain he knew across town. Nothing. No ring. Just an error tone. I checked my phone. No bars. 0. Not low service. 0. Anyone got signal? I asked. A chorus of nope, nothing, and you gotta be kidding me rolled across the bay. Now the air felt heavy. Not like something was wrong inside the station. Like something was wrong everywhere. The captain looked at the clock on the wall. 10:42 p.m. We weren't even halfway through the night. All right, he said, his voice just a little tighter. Everybody gear up. Full PPE. We're gonna do a station check and a perimeter check. We don't sit on our hands. No one argued. Every firefighter knows the feeling of adrenaline when the tones drop. This was different. This was adrenaline with no direction. We went to our lockers, pulling on bunker pants, boots, jackets. The ritual usually centers you, gives you focus. That night, it just made the silence louder. No tones, no address, no dispatcher saying, Engine 4, Truck 2, respond. Just the sound of Velcro, zippers, and our hearts beating in our ears. I looked over at the big speakers mounted in the ceiling that normally blast the call-out tones. They stared back at me like empty eyes. We moved like we were heading out on a call, but we had nowhere to go. The captain met us in the bay, helmet on, radio clipped uselessly to his coat. Listen up, he said. Until we know what's going on with dispatch, we're not going to sit here blind. We check our immediate district, the old school way. We roll out, eyes open. Look for smoke, crowds, anything. If this is a system failure, people are still going to need help. Cap, I asked, what if they're trying to call us right now? He swallowed. That's what I'm afraid of. We split into 2 crews, engine and truck. I was on the engine that night. No emedite, no cadaputs, no reassuring voice in our ears. Just a folded paper map in the captain's hand, like it was 1985 again. We rolled out of the bay, the overhead doors lifting with their usual clatter, and the world outside felt wrong. The streetlights were on. Traffic signals worked. But the roads were almost empty. Not late Tuesday empty. Too empty. We pulled out onto the main road, and Torres, driving, kept glancing down at the dark radio like it would suddenly wake up. Try your radio again, the captain said. We all did. Nothing. Just a faint hiss, like the city was trying to whisper, but couldn't. The weirdest part? No sirens. Usually, at any given time, you'd hear another unit somewhere. Ambulance, police, another engine. Somewhere out there, tone and wail cutting through the night. It was just us. Our diesel engine, the rattling compartments, and the base of the tires on old asphalt. Maybe it's just our side, Price said from the back. Maybe they're all fine over in the other districts. No one believed it. We cruised past the small bars and takeout spots that usually a crowd's out front. A few people were gathered, heads down, staring at their phones with frustrated looks. One guy slammed his phone against his palm. What the hell is going on? He shouted to no one. The captain leaned out the window a bit. You all right? He called. The man looked at us like we were the first sane thing he'd seen. Yeah, but none of our phones are working, he said. My buddy tried calling 911 for his grandma. She fell. Line's dead. We thought it was just us. The captain's eyes hardened. Where is she? The guy pointed down the block. 2 streets over, yellow house, porch light on. Number 814. All right, the captain said. We're going. We pulled away, and he looked back at us. Okay, we're doing this the hard way. No despache, no time stamps, no documentation. Old school. We help who's in front of us until this gets fixed. We found the house easily, porch light burning like a beacon. Inside, we treated an elderly woman who had fallen and injured her hip. Normally, we'd be calling for an ambulance, giving them patient updates, ETA, everything. This time, the ambulance had no idea this woman existed. We did what we could, stabilized her, splinted, gave oxygen. Her daughter kept asking, "When is the ambulance coming? Did they say how long?" We had to look her in the eyes and say, "We don't know. Our radios are down. 911 is down. We're going to drive her ourselves." We turned our own engine into a makeshift ambulance. No one likes stuffing a patient into a space not meant for them, but we had no choice. We loaded her carefully, seat-belted, with one of us holding her hand. On the way to the hospital, we expected chaos. Uva on air. Panic staff. Lines out the door. Instead, we pulled up and found something worse than chaos. We found confusion. The hospital's sliding doors opened, and a nurse looked out, surprised to see a fire engine parked sideways out front. "We brought you a patient," the captain called out. "Possible hip fracture. No ambulance available." "No ambulance." "Why not?" "Because everything is down," the captain said. "Radios. 911. Cell phones. You're not getting any calls." The nurse's face went pale. "We have a few walk-ins, but no EMS, no alerts, nothing. We thought it was just some network issue." "Yeah," the captain said quietly. "It's bigger than that." We handed off the patient, gave a quick verbal report, and then watched as the hospital staff turned into their own crisis team, huddled at a desk, realizing they might be blind too. As we walked back to the engine, Torres muttered, "If no one can call 911, how many people are just sitting at home, hoping help is coming?" We climbed back in. The captain stared ahead for a long moment. "All right," he said. "We keep moving. Check the nursing homes, the high-rises, the usual hotspots. We're flying without instruments, people. Keep your eyes up." Real talk question for you. If you were that grandmother's family member and couldn't reach 911, what would you do in the next 10 seconds? Drop your answer in the comments. Improvise or panic, be honest. Also, I want to know, have you ever been in a situation where you couldn't reach emergency services when you needed them? Share your story in the comments. These conversations matter, and they help people realize how fragile our safety systems really are. Call to action. If you know first responders, healthcare workers, or anyone in emergency services, share this video with them. Real stories like this build understanding and respect for people who do this job every single day. We drove through our district, and the pattern repeated. People standing in the street, holding dead phones. Porch lights on, doors open. The city didn't look like it was on fire. It looked like it was holding its breath. At one intersection, we saw a car in the middle of the road, flashers on, both drivers out, arguing. No cops, no tow trucks, no one coming. We pulled into a familiar apartment complex, one that usually kept us busy with alarms and medical calls. It was oddly quiet, too quiet. "Take a slow loop," the captain said. "Lights off, just look, smell, listen." We cruised past each building. Some curtains twitched. A kid waved from a window, but no one flagged us down. No alarms bladith. No sprinklers gushed water. The world was just paused. We were about to pull out when a woman came running toward us from Building C, waving her arms. "Fire department. Please, please," she yelled. Torres hit the brake. We jumped out. "What's wrong?" I asked. "It's my neighbor," she panted. "He has a heart condition. He passed out." I tried calling 911. It just nothing. "Please, I don't know what to do." We grabbed the med bag, the monitor, and followed her up 3 flights of stairs. Inside, we found a middle-aged man on the floor, pale, barely breathing. We went into automatic mode. Airway, breathing, circulation, vitals. We worked that patient like we had a full EMS system behind us, even though we didn't. No ladder of support. No paramedic unit on the way. No hospital pre-alert. Just us. We stabilized him as best we could, packaged him, and once again used our engine as an ambulance. The woman watched us load him up, tears in her eyes. "Will he be okay?" she whispered. "We're going to do everything we can," the captain said. As we drove, Torres asked the question hanging in all our minds. What if we're the only ones doing this right now? What if every engine, every ambulance is sitting in their station, waiting for tones that will never come? The captain turned slightly in his seat. Then we keep moving until someone tells us otherwise, he said. That's what we do. But no one told us otherwise. No one told us anything. Even hospital staff had started checking their own radios, their own internal phones. You could see it in their faces. They were only just realizing that they might be alone too. We made another loop through our district. Every small thing now felt huge. A faint whiff of smoke from a chimney made us tense. A group of people yelling outside a bar made us slow down, ready to jump out. Every shadow became a possible emergency we might be missing. The silence of the radios wasn't just quiet. It was an accusation. If no one can call us, how many people will we never know about? How many lives are slipping away in the dark while we drive past, blind? Hours seem to squeeze into minutes and stretch into eternity at the same time. We lost track of time. No radio traffic meant no comparison, no flow of calls to pace the night. Just our engine's clock ticking forward and the occasional church bell marking the passing hours like a heartbeat far away. We were about to swing back toward the station to check in when we saw it. And this is where everything changed. We were maybe 4 blocks from the station when Torres slowed down and said, Cop, you see that? Up ahead, faint but unmistakable, a dull orange glow pulsed against the sky. Not bright enough to be sunrise. Too deep and dirty to be streetlights. Smoke, Price said quietly from the back. We rounded the corner, and the glow grew stronger. A column of smoke rose into the night, illuminated from beneath by shifting, angry light. At first, it was impossible to judge distance. Then, as we drove, it lined up perfectly with something that made all our stomachs drop. The glow was coming from the direction of our own firehouse. No, Torres Guisperth. No way. The captain leaned forward, eyes wide. Step on it, he snapped. The engine roared as Torres hit the accelerator. We flew down that street, every intersection a blur, that orange glow growing brighter and uglier with each block. Our brains fought the idea. Stations don't burn. Our place is where we launch from, where we come back to after the nightmare. It's not supposed to be the nightmare. But as we got closer, reality stopped caring what we thought. We turned the last corner, and there it was. Our station, our home, on fire. Pause for a moment and think. What building do you consider your safe place? Your home, your workplace, your hospital, your school? Now imagine seeing it on fire and being unable to call for help. Comment. Type the building and how that feeling would hit you. Devastated or powerless or whatever word fits. Important. If this story is resonating with you, please like this video right now. YouTube's algorithm only shows stories like this to people who engage, and there are thousands of people who need to see what firefighters actually face. Takes seconds, but makes a real difference. Subscribe and turn on notifications if you want to be here for part 2 or other real emergency stories. Flames licked out of the apparatus bay like the mouth of some beast, gulping in air and coughing out thick black smoke. The front overhead doors were partially warped, one of them already collapsed inward. The windows in the day room had blown out, glass glittering on the sidewalk like fallen stars. The familiar red brick building that had always felt invincible looked fragile, mortal. Jesus Christ, Price breathed. That's our house. In the distance, far beyond the station, other faint glows dotted the skyline. Fires. Multiple. Everywhere. But this one was ours. The captain didn't hesitate. Pull into the lot, he barked. Set the rig up across the front. Watch for downlines. My heart hammered in my chest. A horrible, colder thought pushed through the shock. Cap, who's inside? We had left with one crew, but there had been a few guys on light duty. Mechanics. Possibly a visiting inspector. And the truck crew, who was out ahead of us in the district. Or were they? We skidded into the lot. No other rigs. No cop cars. No ambulances. Just our single engine, facing down our own burning station. We had never felt so small. Mask up, the captain shouted. Don't wait. Pull a line. Fast. We bailed out. I swung open the compartment and hauled out a pre-connect, muscle memory overriding the horror in my chest. Flames rolled across the ceiling of the bay, pushing out through the broken overhead door in waves like someone breathing fire. You could hear the hungry roar, a low, guttural sound that drowned out everything else, even the silence of the radios. "Cap!" yelled Price. "What about the guys? What if they're—" A crack echoed. Part of the fascia above the bay peeled away and collapsed, sending sparks and embers into the air. We flinched. The captain's eyes flicked from the flames to the dorm side of the building. Thick smoke poured from the hallway windows. "If anyone's in there," he said, "we go get them. But we do it smart. No one dies in a rescue that was impossible from the start. We go in with a plan." Torres had already hit the pump, water coursing through the line and making it come alive in my hands. I felt the familiar weight, the pressure. For a moment, the world snapped into focus. Fire, water, decisions. "Hit the bay from the outside first," the captain ordered. "Knock it back. Then we search. Move." I opened the nozzle and sent a solid stream into the inferno where our rigs usually sat. The sight was surreal. The outline of our other engine, our truck distorted by heat, paint blistering. These were not just vehicles. They were our lifelines, our partners. Watching them burn felt like watching friends trapped in a car wreck. "Watch the roof," someone yelled behind me. Overhead, the roof near the front sagged slightly, heat waves shimmering. This fire had been burning longer than it looked from the street, long enough to eat into the structure. And we've been out there, driving around, not knowing. We've been looking outward, not inward. That guilt hit hard. I pushed it down. Guilt doesn't put out fires. Water does. We knocked down some of the fire at the front of the bay, enough to see in. Where there should have been two rigs parked side by side, we saw one, just one boxy silhouette. Our truck was gone. The engine that should have been in the next bay over was nowhere to be seen. "Truck's out," Price said, voice shaky in my ear. "They're not here. They must have been on the road. So where are they?" I shouted back. No answer. The truck company was somewhere out there in the city, just as blind and deaf as we were. Maybe they were staring at their own fire. Maybe they were in worse trouble. We had no way of knowing. The captain grabbed my shoulder. "We have fire in the bay and probable extension to the second floor." We hit hard, and then we searched the dorm side. Nobody freelances. Stay together. Watch the structure. We advanced a few steps into the bay, heat slamming into us like a wall. The interior was an inferno of warped metal, burning rubber, and the sickening sight of our own turnout gear hanging on the walls, some of it already catching. That was the worst part, seeing the coats and helmets of guys who were on days off, hanging there like ghosts. We pushed the stream across the ceiling, sweeping, trying to cool the overhead and knock the main body of fire back. Pieces of fluorescent light fixtures melted and dripped. The air filled with that unique, bitter smell of burning plastic, rubber, diesel, and memories. The captain made a quick decision. "We're not committing deeper here until we know the second floor isn't ready to come down," he said. "We go in from the side entrance to the dorms and see what we've got. Pull a second line." We backed out, moved around the side. The side door to the dormitory hallway was breathing smoke with every gust of wind. Thick, dark, angry. We forced the door, stayed low, and advanced under a ceiling of rolling black. Somewhere above us, the building groaned. "Listen to that," Torres muttered. We crawled forward, sweeping the hallway with the stream, cooling as we went, calling out on autopilot. "Fire department. Call out." Nothing. No golfing. No cries for help. Just the roar of the fire ahead and the crackle of whatever was burning. We reached the stairwell leading up to the dorms. The heat pushing down from above was intense. The captain hesitated for half a second, weighing the risk. "Quick check," he decided. "We pop up, look, listen, and if it's bad, we get out. No hito moves." We climbed, staying low, the handrail hot, even through our gloves. At the top, the dorm door hung half open, smoke pumping out. We pushed it fully open, ready for anything. Inside, flames had chewed their way across the ceiling, eating foam tiles and dropping small burning chunks onto mattresses and lockers. But the beds were empty. The bunks, empty. Sheets and blankets smoldered, but there were no bodies. No boots by the beds. No half-on gear. Everyone who was supposed to be sleeping there tonight had either gotten out or never made it back. The relief was sharp, immediate, but it came with a strange emptiness. Our people were not here. Our house was burning. We were alone. We did a quick search anyway, moving from bunk to bunk, sweeping under beds, making sure no one had been overcome in the hallway. Nothing. Just emptiness and smoke. "All right, we've seen enough," the captain said. "The fire's already in the structure up here. The floor is getting soft. We back out before this thing decides it's tired of holding us." As if on cue, a deep, resonant creak rolled through the building, followed by a dull thump somewhere behind us. We turned and hustled back down the stairs, the heat chasing us like a living thing. We spilled out the side door into the cool night air, masks hissing, lungs burning. Torres ripped off his mask and sucked in fresh air, eyes wide. "We're losing it, Cap," he said. "We're chasing at this point. We don't have enough water or manpower to save the whole thing from inside." He was right. With one engine and a handful of firefighters, we were trying to fight a fire in a building designed to house a district's worth of resources. The irony stung. 4. Real question. Have you ever had to give up on something you wanted to save? A project? A relationship? A dream? Comment. How did it feel? Helpless or accepting or something else? This moment matters. Even firefighters, trained rescuers, sometimes face the impossible choice of knowing when to let something go. That moment shapes character. That moment teaches humility. Action. If this story is teaching you something about sacrifice or resilience, react with an emoji that shows how you're feeling. Crying face 4 sad, flex biceps 4 strong, thinking face 4 thoughtful. Your reaction helps others find this content. Share it forward. Send this to someone who needs to understand what impossible looks like through the eyes of first responder. The captain looked at the station, now fully involved on the front side, flames pushing out of windows, throwing embers onto the adjacent lot. He took a long breath. "We go defensive," he said finally. "We protect exposures. We keep it from spreading. The house is already gone." That was the twist that cut deeper than any collapse or injury. The moment the captain gave up on saving the station. We were firefighters, trained to save what we could, to push until there was nothing left. But sometimes the fire wins. This time, it was winning against our own home, and we had to stand there and watch it burn. "Hydrant," the captain barked. "We need a sustained water supply, or we're dead in the water." He pointed to the corner. I sprinted to the hydrant, one we'd used 100 times on drills. It felt different under my hands that night. More important, life and death didn't just mean a stranger's house this time. It meant our own second home, our district's backbone, our ability to respond tomorrow. The hydrant spun open, water roaring, hose lines snapping tight as Torres engaged the pump. We pulled a larger line, set up a ground monitor, and started hammering the exterior, carving away at the fire's appetite. The heat beat against us even from the outside. The fire had fully vented through the roof now, flames twisting into the night, sending sparks across the street. The sky glowed orange, reflecting in the windows of the houses nearby. People started to gather at a safe distance. Neighbors, passers-by, phones in their hands, though none of them worked. Some just held them up out of habit, trying to record, trying to make sense of what they were seeing. The firehouse, the place they always saw us leave to go fix other people's worst days, was having its own worst day. A woman in a bathrobe stood on the sidewalk, hand over her mouth. "That's the station," she whispered to no one in particular. That's the fire station." Her words hit like a punch. We rarely think about what our station means to the community, not just to us. But standing there, watching faces reflect the firelight, you could see it. The station was a symbol of safety, of response, of the idea that someone is always coming. Now, that symbol was melting, and we were the ones trying to hold on to whatever we could. Behind the roar of the fire, an incredibly faint sound emerged. Distant sirens. At first, it seemed like a trick of the ears. We had gone so long without hearing them that it almost felt like a memory. But the sound grew. Closer. Multiple tones. High-low wail. Yelp. Air horns. We all looked at each other. No way, Price said softly. Radios are dead. How did they know? Then we saw them. Far down the street, from two different directions, other rigs appeared. Engines, trucks, even a chief's SUV. Their lights cut through the orange glow, red and blue strobing wildly off the smoke. They came in hot, tires screeching, brakes whining. They must have seen exactly what we did, a column of smoke and a glow in the sky, and done what firefighters always do. They went toward it. They didn't need radios to tell them where to go. The chief's SUV pulled near our engine, and the battalion chief jumped out, helmet already on, coat half-zipped. He took one look at the station and swore under his breath. He shouted over the noise. "Who's in charge here?" Our captain stepped forward. "Engine 4, he said. We got full involvement in the apparatus bay, extension to the dorms, roof partially collapsed. We've gone defensive. Hydrant on the corner. No known occupants inside. Truck 2 is out. Location unknown." The chief nodded, processing. "We got similar outages across the city," he yelled back. "Radios down, 911 down, cell networks down. Everyone's been running dark. We saw the column and came. We're building a Fireground the old-fashioned way, face-to-face." He started pointing, assigning units in person. "Engine 7, your backup line on the B side. Truck 3, get that aerial up. Protect the houses on the exposure side. Let that main body go if you have to, but nothing else burns. Move." Suddenly, we weren't alone. Hoses snaked across the asphalt. Water arced into the night. Aerial ladders extended, their tips disappearing into the smoke. Even without radios, the choreography of the Fireground came to life. Hand signals, shouts, eye contact. We fell into it, each move a mix of training and instinct. As more units arrived, a thought nagged at the back of my mind, sharp as a splinter. The truck crew. Our guys. Where were they? During a brief lull, as we repositioned a line, I cornered the captain. "Cap," I said, "we checked the dorms. No one there. Truck's not in the bay. What if they're—" He held up a hand. "We'll get word as soon as anyone knows anything," he said. "Right now, focus. This building is still trying to kill us." He was right. The structure groaned again, a sickening, drawn-out sound, followed by a section of roof near the back giving way, collapsing inward with a shower of sparks. "Watch that collapse zone," someone yelled. We adjusted our positions, tugging lines back, staying just outside the reach of falling bricks and debris. The heat surged as new oxygen rushed in. Even though we'd gone defensive, the fire wasn't surrendering quietly. For a while, it became a blur of work. Advance, retreat, cool hot spots, move lines, protect exposures, back off when something shifted, step in when an opportunity opened. No radio traffic directed us. No digital status board tracked us. Just human beings, reading fire, reading buildings, reading each other. At some point, sweaty, soot-streaked, we pulled back for a quick break to swap bottles. The chief walked over. His face was grim, eyes red from smoke and something else. He pulled his mask down and looked at our captain. "I got some partial info," he said, "about Truck 2. The world went very still. "What is it?" our captain asked quietly. "They were out when the comms went down," the chief said. "Got flagged down by civilians. Apartment fire on the south side of the district. No way to transmit. They went to work." He paused. By the time anyone else saw that column and got there, he didn't need to finish. A cold weight settled in my chest. "How bad?" Price asked. The chief swallowed. "Bad," he said. "Partial building collapse. They pulled some people out. But we haven't accounted for everyone yet." Silence, except for the roar of our burning station. Our burning home. The captain took that in, the muscle in his jaw twitching. "Names?" he asked. The chief shook his head. "Not yet. Still verifying. Still digging. Right now, all we know is that this building," he gestured at the station, "is not the only thing that went wrong tonight." The guilt that had been simmering in all of us flared hot. We had been racing around, helping where we could, while our brothers might have been trapped under concrete and steel across town. It was irrational. There was no way we could have known. But guilt doesn't care about logic. Guilt is a heavy thing to carry. Question for you. Have you ever felt responsible for something outside your control? When that moment hit, how did you process it? Comment, "I moved on" if you pushed through it, or "I'm still carrying it" if you haven't let it go. Important reminder: if this story is hitting you emotionally, if it's making you think about responsibility, sacrifice, and what heroes actually feel like, please share this video. The algorithm doesn't promote stories like this unless people engage. Your share can reach someone who needs to hear that even the strongest people carry weight. Hit subscribe if you want more real, unfiltered stories from inside emergency services. We're building a community here. The captain saw it in our faces. He squared his shoulders. "Listen up," he said, loud enough for all of us to hear. Truck 2 would do the exact same thing we're doing right now. They'd fight the fire that's in front of them. They'd protect the people who are here. We honor them by doing our jobs. We finish this. Then we go find them. You understand? We nodded, some of us more firmly than others. The chief put a hand on the captain's shoulder. "You've got good people," he said softly. The captain didn't answer. He just turned back to the inferno and picked up his radio out of habit, then remembered. Still dead. He clipped it back, almost angrily. "All right," he said. "Back to work. Let's put our house out." We attacked the fire with renewed determination. Not rage. Not panic. Determination. Like if we could control this one thing, a burning building we understood, then maybe the rest of the chaos out there would make more sense. It didn't, of course, but that didn't stop us. We worked our way closer, careful, testing every step, probing for hot spots, drowning stubborn embers that clung to what used to be desks, couches, gear racks. Inside the bay, the scene was unrecognizable. The rig we had seen earlier was a charred, skeletal hulk. The turnout gear on the walls was gone. The walls themselves were blackened, cracked, sweating water and steam. Where our kitchen used to be, where we'd laughed, argued, shared meals, was a collapsed, soggy mess of twisted metal, burned pots, and a refrigerator lying on its side like some dying animal. We moved in a slow, somber line, digging, spraying, turning over debris. At one point, we uncovered the old wooden table where we used to eat. The top was scorched, one leg broken, but it was still there. Somehow, that hurt more than if it had been gone completely. We had to walk away several times, catch our breath, compose ourselves, then go back. Because we weren't just putting out a fire. We were sifting through our own memories, deciding which ones were salvageable. By the time the fire was officially declared under control, it was sometime near dawn. The sky was a faint gray, the first hint of morning creeping in, birds confusedly starting to sing, even as smoke still hung in the air. We were exhausted. Physically, emotionally, spiritually. The radios were still silent on our belts, but now, every few minutes, someone's phone would buzz weakly with a notification, like the networks were slowly coming back to life, crawling out of the hole they'd fallen into. Word trickled in, piece by piece. The outage had hit hard. Not just our city, the whole region. A massive failure somewhere in the chain. Servers, switches, something far above our pay grade, had taken out 911 radio repeaters and a good slice of the cell network. For hours, people who needed help couldn't call. For hours, we had been out there, feeling the edges of a disaster we couldn't quite see. Truck 2's story came in fragments, flagged down by civilians. Fire already well underway. No way to call for backup. They did what they were trained to do. They went in. They rescued who they could. But the building had more fire in it than anyone realized. A hidden void space. A structural weakness. A sudden failure. A collapse. Some of them made it out. Some didn't. Their names would be etched later into plaques, onto walls, into the hearts of everyone who'd ever shared a meal with them. But that morning, under the sickly gray light, all we knew was that some of our brothers were never coming back. And our station, our home base, our safe place, was a half-gutted shell. The chief gathered us in the parking lot, near the line where the collapse zone tape fluttered in the smoky breeze. We stood there in our dirty gear, faces streaked with sweat and soot, eyes red. He looked at us one by one. "You did good work tonight," he said. No one believed him at first. How could we have done good work when our house burned, people died, the city suffered because the system failed? But he kept going. You adapted when everything you depend on went dark, he said. You found people who needed help without anyone telling you where to go. You turned your engine into an ambulance, your eyes into your dispatch, your instincts into your map. That's not nothing. That's the job. The real job. When all the systems break, it's people who have to fill the gaps. He paused. And we're going to get through this, he said. He gestured back at the chart station. This is just a building, he said. Yeah, it hurts. Yeah, it was home. But it's just brick and steel. We can rebuild that. What we can't rebuild are the people we lost tonight. So we honor them. We rebuild. We adapt. But we don't forget. Later that day, after showers at another station, after a quick, numb meal, we came back to what was left of our house. Sunlight made the damage even more real. No dramatic glow now. Just black streaks, melted signs, twisted metal. Inside, in a corner of the bay that hadn't been completely destroyed, we found the old station bell. It was soot-covered, tarnished but intact. Someone wiped it with a rag, revealing the dull shine beneath. We all stood around it. Nobody had to say what we were thinking. That bell had rung for countless calls, countless shifts, countless goodbyes and welcomes. We had a tradition, 8 slow, steady tolls to honor fallen firefighters. Someone looked at the chief. He nodded. The captain took the clapper in his hand. His knuckles were scraped, bandaged. He swallowed, then rang the bell. 1. The sound echoed strangely in the half-ruined bay. 2. Neighbors and off-duty firefighters stood outside, heads bowed. 3. Each toll felt like a weight dropping into our chests. 4. We thought a truck too. Of the last time we'd seen them joking around in the kitchen. 5. Of the moment the radios went dark. 6. Of the orange glow in the sky over our own station. 7. Of the people we managed to help anyway. 8. Of the silence that followed. Afterward, we didn't say much. There wasn't much to say. But as bad as it was, as painful as it was, there was a strange, fragile thread running through all of it. A reminder. A clarity. That night stripped everything away. The computers, the tones, the routines, the comfortable idea that the system would always be there to catch us. It showed us something raw and uncomfortable. People don't call a station. They call a promise. They call the belief that somewhere a human being will hear, will care, will move. Even when the radios are dead. Even when the system breaks. Even when the firehouse itself is burning. The night our fire station went silent, it taught a brutal lesson. We are not the building. We are not the tones. We are not the radios, the rigs, or the gear. We are what's left when all of that is taken away. We're the ones who still get in the truck, look at the glow on the horizon, and say, drive toward it. Because in the end, the night the fire station went silent didn't stop us from being firefighters. It just forced us to remember why we ever answered the alarm in the first place. If this story did something to you, if it shifted how you see firefighters, emergency responders, or the invisible systems we all depend on, I need you to take action right now. 1. Like this video. If you made it all the way to the end, that like button is a promise. It tells YouTube, show this story to more people who care about real emergency narratives. 2. Comment your moment. This story was real for someone. Was there a moment that hit hardest for you? The silence? The burning station? The loss? The resilience? Tell me in the comments which moment changed how you see this job. Real comments from real people help this story reach others. 3. Subscribe and turn on notifications. If stories like this matter to you, raw, unfiltered, told from inside the emergency service community, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you don't miss the next one. 4. Share this with someone who matters. Send this to a firefighter you know, a family member of someone in emergency services, someone who takes 911 for granted, anyone who needs to understand what hero actually means. 5. Support first responders, whether it's a like, a comment, sharing with a friend, or donating to a fire department's community programs. Small Actions Compound. You're not just watching a story, you're building understanding. The night the fire station went silent will stay with us forever. But it won't mean anything unless people remember it. That's where you come in. Thank you for listening. Thank you for caring. And thank you for remembering that behind every siren is a human being doing something most of us never will.